So, Jane, thank you for joining me here today. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you.
Oh, I'm honored. Thank you so much.
So, I first came across you on a podcast. It was Dr. Willie Jolly's podcast. I absolutely love his podcast. And I listened to your podcast and I thought, that woman is so inspiring. And I've just got to talk, I've got to talk to her, I've got to interview her. But you've got a long story and you've got an incredible story. Can you tell us a little bit about where it all started and how did you get to where you are today?
Well, thank you so much for that. And Willie is one of my dearest friends, and you are so right. His podcasts are amazing. And so I'm so glad that you heard my interview with Willie. And it all started when being reared on a farm outside of Charleston. And my daddy was very hardworking man. He did not get an education. And my mother was very funny. And on that dirt road were some wonderful people that really formed me into the person I am. And Isabella, I just started thinking big, I guess dreaming big. And I'm glad I did because I was diagnosed with being dyslexic. I was put in the low, slow class of underachievers. I was told I would never really be able to go to college and never really have a career. And I just, I'm very thankful that through it all, I became the person that I thought I could become. And it was through tools like the Miss America pageant that helped me learn about talent and interview and just life skills. And so that was a big game changer for me, but I never gave up. And I look back and think, what if I hadn't given it just one more time or one more try? And I'm saying that because I just heard another podcast, the story of Ed Millett, and he just said his dad would always say, one more day. And so when you're feeling discouraged and you can't move on, just try one more day and see where all of this could lead you. So I did go to college. I went to graduate school and my daddy could not send me. And I love my family, but it was not a healthy, as I would think, a healthy family. But people that use that as an excuse, you need to break through that barrier and say, all of this stuff stops with me. And I'm going to move on and I'm going to chase my dream. And you just never know what can happen through my faith. I'm a person of faith. And all of that just kept opening one door after another. And I always say the best 4-letter word in the English language is next. And just see what would happen. Here's a good example. My book released a month ago, Sweet Tea Secrets from the Deep Fried South. And I thought, do I want to write another book? Because the publisher before this, it was a little bit of a challenge, great people, but I was just a little fleck of dust in their radar screen. And so I said, no, I think I'll write another one. Well, a week ago, I got contacted through United Talent Agency. I don't know where this is going, but they were asking me if the rights to the book were available for a possible film. Well, I don't know where that could go, Isabella, but isn't that exciting where it could go? So I don't know. I'm having a meeting tomorrow with an attorney and we're going to talk about it. So that kind of in a nutshell is where I came from and where I am now.
That's great. Now, you just touched on something, and I'm always telling people there's an expiry date on how long you can blame your past for anything that's happened in your life. And one of the things that you just said is next. And that's a hard thing for a lot of people to do, is to say, okay, that's not right for me, next. Because we're always worried about the future and what's not going to happen rather than what's going to happen. And one of the things that I loved about you is you said that inside you is your greatest potential, your biggest dreams. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that manifests itself and who inspired you and what inspired you as you were growing up, and obviously has continued to inspire you?
I think some of the best teachers are the people that we observe that maybe allow their past to paralyze them. That's a big lesson. So be a student of life. So surround yourself with people that encourage you, but pay attention to the people who hit the brick walls and won't go any further and do blame their past. I learn, I think, more from people like that, if that makes sense. I don't hang out with them, although I have a family of several people that think like that. And I think it's sad. So that taught me, don't do that. Hard times either reveal character or it produces character. And I think it's smart if you pay attention to both. Because in my life, if I have a weakness that I need to work on, I want to know it. And if I have a friend that I trust and love and they're in my world and they get me and they say, I love you enough to tell you this, I pay attention to that. And I hang out with older people that are wise. I love wise people because you can learn so much from them. But inside of me was some drive that kept saying, don't let that stop you. And I even remember when the movie Mulan came out and my children were little, and there was a lyric in that song and it said, when will my reflection show who I am inside? I thought, that's brilliant, because sometimes it takes a long time for the inside to catch up with the outside. So hang in there and just keep dreaming big and learn from successful people and learn from people who truly are decided not to be successful or pursue their dreams. Both are valuable.
So there are some people in your life that you've spoken about. I think Nina is one and Tootsie is another. And these are normal, everyday people that you've surrounded yourself with or have just been in your life. And it's important for us to remember that it's the everyday people and our everyday environments that inspire us the most. Would you agree, or would you say that there are other things out there that also inspire you?
I think there are, if you can find inspiration in so many things. And of course, Dr. Cobain, Nito Cobain, has been a big part of my life because he saw something in me that I understood I needed to grow, because he is such an incredible man. Whereas he is so in the spotlight and, president of High Point University, Tootsie was my other mother, basically. And she was an African-American woman, a Black woman, that taught me so much about kindness and breaking through racial barriers. And in the South, you don't hear that as much. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book, because Tootsie had a profound impact on my life. I think she just taught me a lot about just trust, faith. She taught me how to love people that were different from me. And those are lessons that are so valuable as you move forward. Acceptance, non-judgmental. I know the Bible says don't judge, but you can be a fruit inspector, because people supposedly have fruits in their lives, and you have to be mindful of that. And she spoke a language that is called Gullah, and I can speak Gullah. It's a Sea Island language. And she said to me in her Gullah brogue, said, don't let nobody take the sugar that God done place in your heart. And she's so right. Just don't surround yourself with the people that want to cause bitterness in your life. Do not, and learn to stay away from them and learn not to be like them. So that's, we are so concerned about what people think. Well, I'm so over that. I just don't care. I know me. And I think if you develop yourself into the kind of person, the best version of yourself, you want to share that, and hopefully it'll grow in other people as well. But yes, there's so much inspiration. I mean, just listening to music inspires me. And I try to just, all the negative news, oh my gosh, that'll just pull you right down. Never watch anything negative before you go to bed. The first thing you need to do when you get up in the morning is think of something positive. And look for positive things, whether it's just walking. We live on a farm. I can walk outside and watch the birds and look up and think, this is a big, huge world. I'm just a little part of it. So don't let your problems consume you and change your world. Realize that you are just a small part. So look at things differently and try to find the good, the positive, and the pure in other people.
That's so true. And it's the little things in life, like the blue skies and the birds and the green grass and the sea, that actually make a difference. When we were in COVID lockdown, we didn't get to see or do those things very often. And it had a detrimental effect on society. So it's the little things that make the biggest difference. But after I listened to the podcast and I thought, oh, I've got to interview this lady, I went and did some research and I found your material online and it's absolutely hilarious. And it got me thinking, how did you come up with the idea to mix Bible verses with your own stories, your own life experiences to deliver a personal development message? I mean, it's genius. How did you come up with that idea?
That's so sweet. I just think that whether you're a person that is a Bible scholar or not, there is so much good, solid common sense. For example, in the book of Proverbs, and the proverb that says, "A merry heart doeth good like a medicine." Now, how many of us have had a really good laugh and we can say, "I feel better"? And then the rest of that verse is, "But a crushed spirit will dry the bones." How many people do we know, Isabella, that have carried so many burdens through life and all of a sudden their immune system is suppressed and something terrible hops on them and all of a sudden they have a critical illness? Norman Cousins, when he was diagnosed with cancer, and this is an iconic story, but he got all these old Laurel and Hardy movies, old black and white, funny guys, slapstick. And he shut himself up in a hotel room and he laughed away the disease. And he wrote about it. So there's something to be said. And like the verse, "So as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." Well, my gosh, if I sat here and said, "Oh, I can't make a film, I can't write a book, I can't sing," well, I'm right. I'm going to be right. Whether, and Zig Ziglar said it, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're going to be right. So why not be an "I can" person or "let me try" person? That's what we need to tell people. I think dreams are born in us, and it's our job to grow those dreams. And you know what the ultimate thing is, Isabella? No kidding, it's service. So when I step on a stage, it's the most amazing ability of mine, not that it's God-given, but the ability I'm talking about is I have the ability to give back. It's not the ability to get, "Yay, that was great." But I have people come up to me. I had a couple one time, I went to an event and they sat on the front row and they laughed and they laughed. They came up to me afterwards and said it's the first time they've laughed in 6 months because they held their grandbaby and rocked the child and she died. Can you imagine? But I will never forget that. I thought, oh my gosh, I got the opportunity to make someone laugh and to take away some pain. Oh, that's such a gift to me. It's a gift to me, but I can do that and have that opportunity. And so I just cannot put a price on that. And a lot of people say, "Oh, you need to charge more money and all that." I say, "Oh my gosh, when you can just have someone hold your hand and say, 'Thank you,' shoot, you can't put a price on that."
No, exactly. And life's all about adding value to the lives of other people. And I know that that's something that's been raised within you. I think it was your father that used to tell you that, used to ask you, what have you done to add value to the world today?
Right, exactly. And every day my husband will say that. He'll get up and he'll say, "What can I do today to add value to someone else?" When you have that kind of mindset and you have a format to be able to give that part of you to another person, like my husband's in financial services. So his passion is helping people be comfortable as they retire. So when he's able to do that, I can see him getting out of his truck and walking to the house. And it's like he got to give away a gift that he has, a passion that he has. And that is so incredible, to love your work that much that it's not really a job. It's just a gift that you can give, and you cannot receive. You don't care. You just don't really care that you have to have all these pats on the back. You knew in your heart that you gave. And so the quote that I love is just give without remembering. Just keep giving. When people come up to you and say, "Oh, you made me laugh. Where were you?" so and so. Oh, and I just don't remember that. I don't like to read all that, or for someone to say, "Oh, you're just the best speaker." That's really sweet. But I mean, I want to forget all that because I'm thinking ahead. What's the next opportunity I can have just to give something to someone else?
That's an amazing perspective on life. And as I was doing my research, I noticed you're like everything. You're a motivational speaker, you're a best-selling author, you're a Southern humorist, which is a comedian for English audiences, but your speciality is Southern humor, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. I mean, the South has so many funny things that happen, and I just take note of it. And I'll take a story, and I have a humor coach because I think we all need to have coaches in our lives and good people to help us grow our businesses. So I'll just call my good friend Lou and I'll say, Lou, make this funny. I need a good last line. He'll say, okay. And it's all based on facts and truth, but we just sort of polish it up and make that very last line just so funny that everybody remembers the message. And I was just previewing a video that my friend made for me from a speech I did. And it's about a little guy that drove the Marriott bus, and I was in somewhere out west. And he just stopped. You were in a beauty pageant. I went, yes, I was. Yes, I was. And so he said, oh, I can spot royalty. I said, hush, which you say hush in the South. That means don't hush, just keep talking. So he takes me all over the place, and just, I'm going to abbreviate it. And I'd wake up in the morning and there'd be all this stuff outside my door. He would just give me all these little gifts. And he said, upgrade her to concierge. I went, oh my gosh, this guy's amazing. So writing back, I said, I'm going to write all the people at the Marriott about how fabulous you are. He said, well, I just happen to have everybody's name and address and phone numbers. He was prepared, and so I love that. And so but here's the kicker, Isabella. I was walking in the airport, and there was another woman walking by me going to the Marriott to get into the little van. And he said, stop, you were in a pageant. He did it to everybody. I love that because he had a plan, but he made me feel so, so special. So just little stories like that. When it happens to me, I think, got to write this down, because here's the message. Do I make people feel valued? Do I make them feel like right then in my life, they are the most important person? Do I have good eye contact? Because that's the way that people feel valued, is when you remember their name, just little tiny things, look in their face and care and ask questions, and don't just keep talking about you. So that's just a little takeaway of value and how we make other people feel. So I like that. It's a new story. I really am still working on it, but I love the message.
I think that's amazing. And what else is amazing is I went to Amazon and I downloaded your book, your audio book, Rhinestones on My Flip-Flops. And I'm listening to it in the car everywhere I go. And it's so, so funny. And I love the way you've managed to bring vanity into the story and back it up with at least 4 Bible quotes to say that it's okay to care about the way you look, and women are okay to feel good in their own skins. And I thought that was absolutely amazing. How did you actually get to the point where you were able to bring personal development and the external vision that we present to the world into one story and make it all fit?
Well, thank you for that. I really love that little book. Of course, I'm loving this new one, The Sweet Tea Secrets from the Deep Fried South. But the Rhinestones on My Flip-Flops, the premise of it is, when life flips, don't be a flop. Just don't, look at life's flips and learn from them. And that's been the theme of all of my books. But I started thinking of my own life, Isabel, and it started out with Eve. And I'm thinking, she's the first lady of the Bible in Genesis. What was her problem? Well, she does like so many other people starting out in life. You look and you compare. So I don't have enough. Look at so-and-so's family on Facebook. Oh, they're just incredible. I don't have that. What's wrong with me? So you start looking around and judging yourself by other people. And pretty much that's what Eve did. She said, oh, this garden's not good enough. The snake's telling me to eat the apple and I'll be as good as God is. Oh, I think I'll do that. Then she gets Adam. And only when she was out of paradise, did she look back and say, oh my gosh, I had it all? But so many people make that error. They start looking around, or, hey, after work, you want to hang out with us? I know you're married and got a family. And I've seen a lot of women make that mistake. So I called her Deceived Eve. Look at where you are, be thankful for what you have, and don't start comparing. So I looked at my life and I said, okay, that's step one. The second thing I thought about was domestic diva Martha, the woman who worked so hard in her house, and she was miserable when the event rolled around. It was when my husband turned 50, and I got so caught up in getting this porch painted. We got a big old porch that I just blew the surprise and handed him a paintbrush. I said, paint, we got a surprise party coming up in 3 days. And so I remember looking at his face during his party, and he was sound asleep. And after it was over, I said, what was the best part? And he said, when everybody left.
Oh.
So, to me, we can get so caught up, we don't even enjoy what we're doing. So it goes on, I think, as every phase of a woman's life. Whiny Naomi, she was middle-aged, probably going through the change. Oh, I'm pitiful. So I started thinking about me and what I've struggled with. And that's how I got the stories to accompany the biblical characters.
Ah, I wasn't sure whether you started with the biblical characters and moved on to your life stories, or no, but thanks for clarifying. We know that it comes from your heart and your personal message now. Now, if you were going to give some tips to the viewers at home or the listeners at home to help them on their path to self-discovery or personal development, what would they be?
The first thing I would suggest, and this came to me in a way that I did not want it to come, and I went to see a counselor. And I think there is absolutely no shame in saying, you know what, I need to work on this part of me. So I'm going to see a professional, and be honest with yourself. If you are dealing with massive amounts of uncertainty and stress, and let me tell you, you're so right, Isabella, that COVID brought out the best and then the worst. And if you saw that worst part of you and you need to change, do something. Don't be the person that lives with all this baggage. And just because you couldn't get rid of it and go to a person or a professional to help you, you're making everybody else pay for your problem. I heard a minister say this one time, just because you've had a bad experience, don't make the rest of us suffer because you can't fix you. So that's the first thing I would say, is be honest with yourself and seek help if needed. Be appreciative. Wake up every morning and have a grateful heart, and just say, you know what? I mean, my husband just had something weird happen to him. He was on an inversion table and it caused a bleed in his brain. And it wasn't anything mentally cognitive that harmed him. It just hurt. And I will never forget, he was so sleep deprived, and we were in the hospital for 4 nights. And all of a sudden I heard him. He's a wonderful man, but he got so overwhelmed and he was weeping. And I said, Thomas, what is wrong? And he said, I keep thinking about the Ukrainians, that if someone had a problem like me, what would they do? And he was just so overwhelmed with emotion, thinking about people that don't have hospitals right now, that have been displaced, that are going through this war-torn thing. So all of a sudden he just was saying, I am so grateful. And he said, I'm so grateful for you. That was the best part of the whole deal. And he said, I am so grateful to have this facility. I'm so grateful. So sometimes you just have to stop and say, gosh, my life could be so upside down, and I'm thankful I have this. And even if it is hot water, even if it's a warm bed, even if it's a sweet little pet that you can love. So people need to get granular with their thankfulness, and it will change your attitudes. I do believe that.
I agree. And one of the things I tell my clients is keep a gratitude journal every day. All you have to do is write 5 things that you're grateful for every single morning, and 1 thing that you want to achieve in that day. And you'll find that all of the things that you think are important really, really aren't important. So that brings me to the things about you that are really, really important. Where can we find more of you? I mean, you're everywhere, but where specifically can we find more about you?
Well, my website is janeherlong.com, Herlong. And if you Google Jane Jenkins Herlong or Jane Herlong, you'll go to my YouTube channel, and we're all the time posting new videos. And if you Google my name, you'll see my books. Where books are sold, Barnes and Noble, Amazon. I was just seeing the book in Target, and the book's done great because it's so different. So I'm very thankful for that. So anyone who wants a good laugh and a good life lesson that's tacked on to it with a little Southern twist, look me up, and I hope I can brighten a day and teach a life lesson through a funny story. That's what I love to do.
And those stories are really funny, and they do brighten up your day. And it's been absolutely amazing talking to you today. If there was one thing that you could give the viewers, listeners at home, one takeaway that's bigger than everything else we've discussed, what would that be?
I think it would be something that COVID taught me. And it was hard, Isabella. It was very hard. And find the people in your life that you need to say, God bless you. See you later. I'll pray for you. But in my world and in my wheelhouse, it's gotten very small. And that was probably one of the best things I've ever done. I can tell you on one hand, on half of a hand, who my dearest friends are. And I think that we just need to get out the negative. I have one of my best friends sadly died of alcoholism, and I just had to sever that relationship. As much as I love her very much, but that person was gone and not coming back. There's nothing I could do. So if you have someone who has an issue that they will not resolve, I mean, I knew I had to go see a counselor. We had a very bad family problem. And my friends, they instead of answering the phone, hello, Jane, it was, now what? I said, I got to get myself to a professional. I'm going to lose all my buddies. So that would be my best piece of advice. And it's hard. It's not easy to take those negative people in your life and negative circumstances and don't engage in it anymore. And and you will gradually see the best version of you rising to the top like cream. It will happen. It definitely will. But you got to make some hard choices.
That's amazing. We are our environment, and we are the people that we associate with. So that's an absolute amazing tip for people to take with them. The negativity in our everyday life doesn't have to control us, and it obviously hasn't controlled your life because you're doing an absolute amazing job of picking people up and making them happy. And it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.